Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Alliance of European Conservatives and Reformists, thank you to all of you who have come to mark this commemoration with us. In a century of massacres, Srebrenica stands out to us for its vividness and its immediacy. The victims are not removed from us in time or place. These are not old black and white grainy films. These are people shaped by the same influences as us. They watched the same television, they listened to the same music, they followed the same sports. And what was true for the victims was true equally of the perpetrators. The temptation with a massacre on this scale is to treat it primarily as symbolic, to treat the victims as totemic, to press them into contemporary arguments about religious pluralism or national identity or tolerance. But every one of those 8,000 and more victims was, in his own eyes, not a symbol of anything, but a human being as much the center of his own universe as you are. The sheer scale of the atrocity, more than 8,000 deaths, makes it easy to lose sight of the human proportion. And that will become more difficult as time passes, as the victims pass from memory into history. It will become more difficult, but it will not be impossible. We are able to remember individuals long after our first-hand knowledge has passed. Think of some of the other anniversaries that we celebrate now. 100 years ago, tens of thousands of young men were dying across the European continent, from the trenches of Flanders to the plains of Mesopotamia. To take a more or less random example, today happens to be the exact 100th anniversary of the Battle of the Isonzo. Soldiers of Serbian, Bosniak, and Croatian origin, as well as Austrian and Italian origin, were dying in that campaign. Whether we're British or German, French, Turkish, Polish, Bulgarian, Italian, almost all of us will on some level have been touched by the losses in the First World War. We no longer remember the victims. It's not only that the last of the veterans has passed, it's that the last person who knew them is very close to passing. But that doesn't make our grief ersatz. That doesn't mean that in our memorials we are only going through the motions. We still remember. In my own country, every year we have, as in most of yours, a commemoration for the people who died in that earlier conflict. There's a minute's silence every year, and it's preceded by words that are as familiar to a British school child as the words of the Lord's Prayer, written by the poet Lawrence Binyon. It begins the minute's silence every year. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. And so let it be with the 8,000 victims of Srebrenica. Remember them as individuals, as they pass first from memory into yellowing photographs, then onto notches on slabs. Remember them as individuals. Remember Ibrahim Suljobegovic and Jamal Ibro Hasanovic and Alia Sharif Malic and Haris Mehmet Selimovic and all the others. Remember the men behind the names. One by one, the people who knew them will pass. First, the generation of the mothers. The last mother will go. And then the generation of the survivors. The last person will depart. And then perhaps the generation of children, clinging possibly to fragmentary childhood picture memories. And then the men who died will become names on family trees. And then they too, like the First World War victims, will become notches on marble slabs. And yet, at the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.